Trump's defense team prepares to drop the motherload of documents. Some people saying maybe 10, maybe more, of some major substantive motions in the classified documents case. We're going to see what Trump submitted before the filings drop. We're waiting for them, and when they come, we're going to be very excited to cover them here in depth. Ooh, I can't wait, like Christmas. And so we're going to read through what they're asking Judge Cannon for permission to do. We're going to see some reaction about this new Trump hoax that's coming up, classified documents, Trump Putin. We're on season 3 of Trump-Russian collusion. First 2 seasons were terrible, but they can't let it go. And we'll hear what Nancy Mace says about these 2 tiers of justice that are currently evolving all around us. But let's go to Florida. Judge Cannon's courtroom. Donald Trump and his defense team, they send this in, the West Palm Beach Division, United States of America versus Donald Trump. Judge Cannon presiding. They say, all right, Judge Cannon, we're here asking for permission for leave to file a big fat consolidated brief. Here's what's coming. They say President Trump, Your Honor, respectfully submits this motion for leave to file a consolidated brief in support of his pretrial motions that aggregates the page limits under the local rules. We got page limits, And we also want to submit an unredacted version of the consolidated brief to the court and to the council by email on the night of February 22nd. That's soon. Woo, I can't wait. With a hard copy of the February 22nd submission to be filed temporarily under seal with the clerk of the court on February 23rd. And then we want to file a redacted version of the consolidated brief on the public docket on the night of February 22nd, which will allow additional time to address any sealing applications by special counsel's office relating to discovery materials and other potentially sensitive issues that are going to be dropped in that brief. There's a lot of spicy stuff. This is the classified documents case. They say we're going to drop the motherload here very soon, and we want to know how you want us to do it, Judge. They say the special counsel's office consents to Trump's motion for permission to file a consolidated brief, and they take no position on the request about temporary sealing and redaction. So in other words, Judge, we'll leave it up to you. Now, Trump consents to the office of Jack filing a consolidated brief in opposition to our motion, as long as you give him the same page limits that we get. Walt, Nada, and Carlos, they also plan to prepare additional pretrial motions in other separate briefs. So things are getting juicy in Florida. Now, they say on February 22nd, 2024, President Donald Trump, he intends to file at least 10 pretrial motions. Woo! That's what I'm talking about. Man, I'm about to do a backflip like Steve Sadow in the Fannie Willis hearing. Concerning, for example, here we go, the appointment of Jack Smith. Oh, shout out to Edwin Mace. And we just read that in our prior segment. So Jack Smith may be illegally appointed, unconstitutional, in fact, under the appointments clause. And so we're going to get that one dropped. They're also going to talk about presidential immunity. Now, presidential immunity is currently at the Supreme Court right now from January 6th and Judge Chutkan. But again, what happens if we have a circuit split here? What happens if they file this with Cannon and she says, I actually think there is presidential immunity. That's what I'm going to hold in my courtroom. I know it's pending appeal, and I know that we're waiting for ruling from SCOTUS, but I am not Judge Chutkan. I'll hear your argument. I'll say, yeah, maybe Jack Smith is illegitimate. Presidential immunity. Sorry, you got it. Sorry, Jack. The Presidential Records Act, saying that the documents weren't even illegal in the first place. They were Trump's records, just like Clinton had his records under the Presidential Records Act when he claimed them. They also are bringing up selective and vindictive prosecution. Judge Chutkan doesn't care about any of that. Oh no, Jack Smith's my BFF. He's doing an amazing job. But what's Cannon going to say? How about the unconstitutional vagueness of 18 U.S. Code 793E? They're also going to bring up due process violations. Boom, love this. Prosecutorial misconduct, another one. Impermissible pre-indictment delay. You had all this evidence, and you could have indicted Trump, but you waited all the way until election season, and you tried to aggressively minimize his rights because he's in the middle of a campaign, and you're trampling over his rights intentionally, right? Prosecutorial misconduct, due process violations. We can't even see the evidence that you're alleging against us. The illegal raid at Mar-a-Lago, which should have never been conducted because Trump was cooperating with them. He was saying hello to the FBI agents who were there surveilling their residence. He's like, oh, let's get them some lemonade, thinking that they're cooperating. And they're like, perfect. Oh, illegal lemonade too. Also, improper violations of Trump's attorney-client privilege, where Jack Smith was taking people back over to Washington, D.C. to use their grand jury to find evidence in Florida. Why? Why is he going outside of Florida's jurisdiction to bring his case? So they've got a lot that's being dropped, and I'm pretty excited about it. Now, similar to the motions to compel, for the sake of efficiency, and in order to avoid requiring separate filings for each motion, President Trump respectfully requests permission to file a single consolidated brief in support of his pretrial motions, not to exceed the 200 pages in aggregate that are contemplated by the local rules for these motions. Whew! We might have to have 2 shows for that. Now, the president anticipates that such a consolidated brief will be shorter than the aggregated page limit, but is seeking permission for that that page limit in an abundance of caution as counsel finalizes the motion in the coming days. Now, Trump's pretrial motions will discuss and attach discovery materials that were covered by the protective order, love that, which the special counsel's office may regard as sensitive or worthy of sealing. We want to see it. Now, accordingly, Trump also requests permission to submit an unredacted version of the consolidated brief via email and all counsel on the night of Friday 22nd. And we also want to file a hard copy of the unredacted consolidated brief temporarily under seal with the clerk on the 23rd. Now, finally, because of the pending motion for reconsideration concerning sealing by Jack Smith's office, which we read previously, Trump also further requests permission to file a redacted consolidated brief on the public docket on the night of the 22nd, along with redactions that comply with the local rules. Can we do this, please, Judge? Thank you very much. Signed by Todd Blanche and Christopher Keese out of Florida. And so let's talk about national security, right? These are classified documents, and we know that there's this new meme going around, but it's not a new meme. It's an old meme. It's Trump is Putin, essentially. And so they're dragging this one out of the dumpster for season 3, recycling all the same characters. And they're now saying that Trump, in addition to stealing classified documents and charging him with crimes, they're saying the entire GOP is now being used by Putin, right? And this was always the end game, to use the national security state to go after Trump and to weaponize the government against not only Trump, but the rest of the entire party, right? Everyone, which is why we got so sick of tired of hearing people like Ron DeSantis and Nikki Haley and others just ignore the DOJ issue entirely. Just forget about it and say that this was something that they were going to wait and see what the DOJ did with Trump, right? It's always been a political attack. And now they're escalating it because their candidate can't talk. So Dan Goldman came out and he said this when he was on CNN. He says, you know, Putin might have control of the Republicans and the GOP, and they all are agents of them. And so we're going to weaponize the intelligence agencies against Trump, the GOP, anybody on the right.
Not only is there no evidence of any wrongdoing by President Biden, but it now appears as if the House Republican majority is being used by Russia to interfere in the 2024 election on behalf of Donald Trump.
Wow.
If they continue with this investigation, they are simply doing the work of Vladimir Putin to help Donald Trump win an election in November. That's where we are.
Okay, so the GOP are now colluding with Russia. So is Trump-Russia collusion? Russians hacked the election. Hillary Clinton says she had it stolen from her, all the things. Now we're doing this all again, where now the GOP is working with the Russians. Now, a lot of us are, of course, not buying anything, right? They indicted the guy who fingered Joe Biden and Hunter Biden, and they're telling us it's all this Russian collusion operation. And we all know that you never should believe anything from the DOJ anyways, right? Them hiring an informant, paying him a lot of money for many years, allowing him to commit criminality, commit illegalities, and then indicting him, and then him saying Russia, right? Nobody believes anything that they're doing. Why would anybody trust David Weiss, the same guy who tried to not charge Hunter Biden in the first place, to now suddenly be honest when he's indicting apparently somebody who's bad for the Biden administration? Okay, nobody believes it at all. And so we all just say hoax, 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 because that's exactly what it is. But apparently that's getting under Raskin's skin. He doesn't like it.
This is all part of a propaganda and disinformation campaign by Russia attempting to help Donald Trump.
Russia,
and,
again.
You know, when we point out the very clear contours of this story, our colleagues just start chanting, Russia hoax, Russia hoax.
It is.
Well, what's the hoax? Is it the brutal invasion of Ukraine and the tens of thousands of Ukrainians who've died, or tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of Russians who've died? Is it the death of Navalny that's the hoax? What exactly is the hoax they're talking about? Because it seems to me that the most likely hoax is really Donald Trump, who's been manipulated by Putin for a long time, or is certainly in love with Vladimir Putin.
That's the hoax. You just nailed it, Jamie. You just answered your own question. The hoax is that Putin has control of Trump, that you guys keep saying. So what is the hoax? That's the hoax. It's the hoax that there was Russia collusion between General Flynn and the Viselyak phone call back during 2016. It's the hoax that the Russians interfered in the election and stole it and gave it to Hillary Clinton. There was like 2 Facebook posts with some terrible, get out the vote stuff from like Russia, hackers or whatever. Ridiculous. That's the hoax, Jamie. You know what it is. He's like literally answering his own question. What's the hoax? What's the hoax? You guys have been the hoax the entire time. Nobody trusts the DOJ on anything. So here is Nancy Mace. She comes out and is very clear about this, saying there are 2 tiers of justice here. And here is what she sounded like in response to some of those others in the House.
As you look down the road past South Carolina for the president.
I'm not at all. What the American people are seeing and what I hear on the ground here in South Carolina is they see a 2-tiered system of justice, a double standard, one for Donald Trump and one for everybody else. And that's why you're seeing the enthusiasm ratchet up.
All right, so they're in South Carolina, and we're seeing that there is a lot of effort to bring back this Russia meme. We're waiting for Donald Trump to drop the knowledge on the court in Judge Cannon's courtroom to show us what other avenues they're going to be pursuing to dismiss this case, resolve this case, disqualify Jack Smith, show that there was a vindictive prosecution here, that these people are all making it up yet again. And we're going to be here as these drop. Thank you, my friends, for joining. Thanks for subscribing wherever you're watching this. We got some great links down in the description below. WatcherLodge.com. We've got free events coming up in February. We'd love to see you there. Come and join us at WatcherLodge.com. RobertGouveia.com is where you'll find the PDFs if you want to download those. And of course, we'll look forward to seeing you there and back here on the next one.